You are the Navigator. I think that's a line from this movie. Otherwise, I could just say, compliance! Yeah, I just reviewed Explorers, and I thought this was kind of appropriate having... I actually just bought this movie. Had half-price books clearance section for $2. So I thought I just did Explorers, the fantastic movie, so I thought I could do a review for this movie because I just recently rewatched it for the first time. I probably haven't seen this since since the 80s or early 90s at the most recent. I'm doing a review for Flight of the Navigator, which is something very much along the lines of kind of the same genre of Explorers. This is a movie obviously by Disney, and I got it recently on DVD for $2. I never owned any version of this. The only version I ever had of this was probably taped off TV in the 80s. So I'm like, you know what, I haven't seen this in so long. I thought I'd revisit it, and oh god. My opinion of this movie is not too high. First off the bat, this kid, who looks more like a girl with short hair, is, I'll just say it, I mean, he annoys the shit out of me in this movie. I guess I could do this. That kid is so frickin' annoying. He annoys me. I thought I'd just start the review with that fact. So basically this movie is about, this came out probably like a year after Explorers or something like that. Disney, I don't think, puts years on their art packaging, so I can't look at the box to see the year. But I actually, just like Explorers, I don't consider it a positive thing, but I actually did venture out and did see this movie in the theater in its initial run back in 1986 or whenever the hell it came out. So as much as I hate to admit it, I did see this in the theater. And, I was, if I may say so, I mean, I think I was kind of a bright kid, and I don't think I thought too incredibly much, unlike Explorers. I don't think I ever thought too incredibly much about this movie, and for reasons that, it kind of would make sense. This movie is, whereas Explorers is actually a movie that, deals with kind of kid things or whatever. It's like, does it, at least until the last, third of the movie, does it in a way that, I mean, still now I can be, the age I am now, and still watch Explorers and just revel in its delight in its whatever, and just in its greatness for the first 2/3 of that movie. This movie is just made for basically babies. Having rewatched it for the first time in decades, maybe 2 decades or whatever, it's just like basically a movie made for babies. Explorers was rated, PG, and I imagine this is rated PG as well. Yeah, and this is just basically made for babies. Basically, the premise of this movie, the opening credits are this kind of annoying scene. I'm not a big fan of dogs, so it's this annoying scene where these shots of these dogs continually like catching frisbees in the air or whatever. This family, and it's like this family's visiting this dog frisbee catching competition or whatever. Oh, I think they've got this kid has a dog who he wants to, if only my dog would catch frisbees like all these cool dogs or whatever. But this movie, I think it opens up, and I remember being like, what? It takes place, I think the beginning of this movie takes place in 1978 for reasons which we'll understand later on. And then they come home and just this nice happy family, and you got this kid's got a younger brother who's really annoying, and he's like got glasses, and I don't know if he picks his nose or whatever, but his younger brother gives him a lot of crap and stuff or whatever and plays jokes on him. So basically they just show a little bit of family life or whatever, and then the kid, I can't remember if he's, it's been weeks since I've seen it. I should have reviewed it sooner, but I can't remember a lot of details, which is fitting because the character in this movie can't remember a lot either, so maybe it's more fitting to review this movie that way. It seems to me like his little brother was going to go walk somewhere or whatever, or go to someone's house or something, and it's like the kid went by himself, and then when his parents found out he went by himself, they're like, go, make sure he's okay or something. So this kid, the star kid, goes in the woods or whatever and goes to find the brother, make sure he's okay or something. If I'm completely off at this point, I'll be the first to admit it. I don't know detail for detail about this particular part of the movie. At the end of the day, this kid comes in contact with like a frickin' UFO ship or whatever the hell it is in this movie, and then something will happen. I can't remember. I don't think we see a whole lot. I don't think the character really sees. I don't think the audience and the character experience or know what the hell is experienced until later on. Basically, the kid falls down a hill or something like that, and then wakes up, and then he goes back home basically, and it's 1986 or whenever the hell this movie when it came out or took place, and nearly 10 years later, and it's just like what? And I think at the time this movie came out, I think my parents were separated and got a divorce and stuff. So I remember. I don't know, this movie, could be a part, well, the movie I think isn't really any good anyway, but I mean, I think this is probably a reason why I kind of imprint just negativity around this movie is, going through with parents when they're separated and divorcing, and this kind of movie just didn't really, go well with what was going on in my life as a kid at the time and stuff in general, where it's just like, this kid comes home to his home with his mom and dad and his younger brother only to find, it's like, almost 10 years later and different people are living there and it's just like he's lost and whatever, and then he later finds out that it's like 1986 or whenever it is and almost 10 years later, and it's just like and so the movie starts off as kind of a mystery, and it's just like I don't really like that kind of shit. It's just like I don't know, I like to know what's going on. So we later on find out that, and like I say, if I get some details wrong, forgive me. I mean, this is a movie that's very forgettable, and it's been weeks since I've seen it, and like I'm gonna watch it again to get my facts straight. So anyway, we end up finding out that this kid ends up having this connection with this UFO thing, and I think he's like, I can't remember. I think that the authorities get a hold of the kid, and it's just like, went out to the woods in 1978 or whatever, and hit my head, and now I came back and it's 1986 or whatever, and it's just like, so then this whatever, the scientist, the authorities, scientist people in this movie want to study him or whatever, and this and that, and they actually do end up tracking down his family, which I think are like, I don't think they're more poor now, living somewhere else, and I can't remember, I think older brother is still young enough where he's living at home still, and he's this way older kid, or younger brother I should say. And this is one of the parts of the movie that's I guess kind of cool, and it was creepy at the same time. And it's just like this movie just the stuff I was going through in life, and this movie really wasn't a good combination. So then having him meet his parents, which are like almost 10 years older, and his younger brother is now like almost 10 years older than him, and it's just like, oh god, and this whole movie is kind of just really just jolts the viewer out of his comfort zone into this just what I would regard as just extremely uncomfortable place, and I guess to the movie's credit, like that's a good thing. I mean, the movie does that well. Like, why would you want to make a movie to torture your viewers? But and so that ends up happening, and the kid and everyone kind of, where has he been all this time, nearly 10 years, and it's found out that I think. Yeah, back when in the late 70s when this movie I think first took place, I think the government, captured the spaceship, and then later on, this kid is basically put into this whatever, the studying the kid, basically just kidnap him, the government bastards kidnap him and just hold him, and doing tests on him and this and that, and just holding him very near kind of the hangar or wherever they're keeping this UFO, and obviously this kid's drawn to the UFO, and he's got this connection with the UFO, and I guess that's all kind of well and good and stuff. And then we got this Sarah Jessica Parker character who's like just this hot young, frickin', and say what you will about Sarah Jessica Parker, I mean, you gotta admit when she was younger, she wasn't, you wouldn't really necessarily kick her out of bed, and she's like just the errand girl who brings stuff in this stupid robotic thing, which is just ridiculous, and the kid ends up just escaping in this thing, and these stupid security guys, like, they wouldn't check in the thing when it's wheeling out, This kid ends up in the scene, it just goes on way too long, riding in this stupid robot thing, and it kind of just goes, I don't know if the UFO probably brings him to the thing, and it's just like, once this kid goes in the UFO, it's just like, whatever, and this kid ends up flying a UFO, and the stupid annoying thing comes out where it's just like the thing which the eyeball just going around and this and that, and it's very much with like explorers. this alien's just, I don't know how, it probably knows language from TV the same. Sorry, I shouldn't swear in reviews for PG Kids movies, so I'll bleep that. But, just in case some kids watching. But, yeah, it's just like, oh gosh, and this freaking alien ends up being talking kind of like Pee Wee Herman and just this and that, and oh my gosh. And at the end of the day, what happened is like, it's really stupid, because this spaceship, I guess, goes from world to world collecting all these little cute alien pets and all this stuff. And I came in contact with the I got disoriented and we came in contact with the power line. And it's just like, why is this freaking, advanced UFO ends up like crashing into a power line, and it wiped out my, okay, I'll stop that voice, but it wiped out his freaking data banks for his planets. There's maps to his world back home or whatever, and I guess the maps to the way home are in this kid's mind, and it's just like, I needed you. I can't remember I want to say this kid's name is David in the movie. I try not to do that voice. It keeps coming back and possessing me, but so the alien needs him so he can, what's the word? I don't know. Well, I can't think of the smart sounding word for the extract. There you go. Extract the space maps from this kid's mind so this alien can get back home and deliver these cute little stupid, puppeted alien specimens back to his wherever. And so basically this movie spends, I don't know what, the last half of the movie, or maybe the last, whatever you want to, we'll just say last half-ish part of the movie, where this kid's flying around in this spaceship, dancing around the Beach Boys, and it's just prepubescent. I mean, admittedly, it's made for young kids or whatever, but, I mean, I don't know. So there you go. I mean, yeah, I found to be, revisiting this movie, I found to be kind of painful, to be honest, and I hadn't seen this since probably the 80s or early 90s at the most recent, and oh my gosh, what a mess. So flat, I didn't really think of stars beforehand, so I'm thinking of them now live on air. I guess we'll give this movie, even with all my trash talk. No, you know what? Screw it. 1.5 stars out of 4 stars for Flight of the Navigator. It's just such prepubescent garbage. Just because you make a movie for kids doesn't mean, well, I guess kids like that dancing around with the Beach Boys in the spaceship crap, and the stupid, puppet doing the disco or whatever. So, I guess I sound really angry in this review, but I guess, when there's a movie that rubs me the wrong way or whatever, I guess that's how I become. So, yeah, feel free to let me know what you think of Flight of the Navigator. I found it to be, compared to something like Explorers, just really kind of, just drivel, basically, compared to a movie like Explorers. So I guess that'll do it for my review of Flight of the Navigator. Of course, because it's a, kids movie, everything ends up going back to, happily ever after ending. He's returned to his world, or his time, I should say. The kid is returned to his time, and obviously, what I think is so funny is the kid spent like what, 12 hours with the alien, and it's like, I'm gonna miss you, Max. I think they call this stupid alien Max. He said, I miss you too. Sorry, I said I wouldn't do that. I'll miss you too, David, the Navigator. But yeah. Even when I was a kid and saw this in the theater, I was just like way above this crap. So thank you very much for watching my review of Flight of the Navigator, and we'll see you next time.